Okay. Well, good morning, friends. Good morning, Michael. Good morning to you out there in the ether. Thanks for joining. This is Journey Home Meditation's morning sit. Today we're going to share in a little bit of breathing practice. I've got some poetry that we'll get to pretty much right in the beginning because it's going to inform and shape the contemplation today. And we'll do some meditative practice together. So everybody get settled in. We'll be here for a bit. And yeah, I'm happy to be here this morning. I'm happy to be here. So as is our custom, if we have such things, we'll begin with just a few awareness breaths. And just let yourself settle into your space right now in your body. Settle into where you are in your mind. Settle into where your body is. And taking this time to listen to the deeper and more subtle messages of the body. This is how we go in. And we can do that just by bringing our awareness, our focus, and our attention to our breath. So this reassociating with the body in these few moments. Welcome. This few moments of reassociation with the body can be really the difference between mindlessly stumbling through our day and being able to be present and in the moment while also um, having an awareness of how you are being affected and how you are affecting the moment. And it's a very I find it to be a very valuable thing. I know that I feel most often empowered when I am present in the moment with another person or whatever it is that I'm experiencing. When I don't feel that empowerment of presence, when I can't be in my own mind or be in my own body because of discomfort or pain or distraction, I often feel like I'm at the whimsy of the world. And that leads into sometimes a victimhood, a victim mentality, or like you are subject to the way that the world behaves. And just having these few moments to reassociate with the body roots me into my being in such a way that I have agency in this moment. I can choose in this moment um, what I would like to follow in my expression. When our central nervous systems are triggered and we become overwhelmed, we are almost like we are swimming upstream. We're just, every stroke that we have takes us half as far as we hope, with twice as much energy to get there. But when we can have that calm connection into our center of our being, that's where the central nervous system is. And it's a system. We call it a system because it seems to follow one thing after another, but really it's like any other system. It's just existing in the soup of who we are. So there may be things at our center, the solar plexus, our gut, all of these things, but it's important to remember that we are not at the center of everything, but that everything may very well be at the center of us. The way that I'm going to perceive the world today, the way I'm going to interact with the world is that's at the center of my being. And there's a big difference in centering ourselves and finding everything at our center. And I think the difference is in how we hold space. And that's how we hold space for the things that feel good and for the things that feel difficult. So let's get to that center place together with just a few breaths this morning. I'll invite the bell. Bringing our bodies into upright position, letting the shoulders hang from the spine and the shoulder blades together just slightly in the back to open our chest and open our hearts. We'll breathe in through our nose to the bottom of the belly. Breathing in and release. And slowly and gently breathing in and slowly and gently releasing. Becoming aware of all of the places that you may have closed off or holding tension. And we're just going to breathe right through those barriers this morning with our final breath together, breathing in and let it all go. You spend a few moments with yourself, recognizing What has come up or opened up in your relationship to your body this morning? I'm happy to talk about what the contemplation is today because it's kind of come together as a culmination of all these synchronicities, these little things, and I like it when we can see the signposts on the path and we can sort of draw the connections. And I'm sure that is it synesthesia? Is that where you see faces? Okay, synesthesia is, yes, things you combine senses of sight and sound and smells, things like that, right? Okay, so what is it that when you see faces and things, uh, there's a word for it? It's a word. I don't know. Um, but there's this word out there that describes the ability to see faces, things like in the wood grain. Um, and, there's all these philosophies on to why it is we can see those faces. Well, when we were these poor, stupid hunter gatherers and everything was trying to murder us in every moment, we had to see faces to stay safe. Well, okay. It's probably not how it went. Um, more likely, I think that we see faces and things because we are wanting to look into the eyes of the world and be seen. I think that maybe there's something on a deeper spiritual level that's existing there, less reliant upon our bare bones survival in a mad world that's trying to murder us. I think that we've made it this far because the world really does support life. And it's a cooperation. And seeing connections in things to me is part of the cooperation. It's the way we can collaborate with existence and feel as if we are part of the conversation. So I like it when I have synchronicities and things that align. And this morning, I'm going to go right into the piece from Bell Hooks. Uh, Show that to the camera. Show that to you guys. Show and tell. Story time. This is Bell Hooks' Appalachian Elegy. And we are on number 3 today. And this is going to lead us right into the beginning of synchronicities. Night moves through thick dark. A heavy silence outside near the front window. A black bear stamps down plants, pushing back brush. Fleeing man made confinement, roaming unfettered, confident. Any place can become home. Strutting down a steep hill as though freedom is all in the now. No past, no present. I like this piece because it's very rooted in place. If you live anywhere where there are black bear, you can picture this scene that's unfolding um, just outside of the window. And I like the metaphors that are at play here in this. Let me get the words correct here. She says, Through thick, dark, a heavy silence outside near the front window, a black bear. Like we're seeing these images of these things that move in the dark, uh, that hold the capacity of this fear of the dark, and this heavy silence. Like there's that weight of having knowledge of something that you can't prove, but you just have to sort of have faith in. You have to have faith that there's a heaviness that's here, because you don't have you're seeing the faces in the design, right? You're making these connections that might not really be there for someone else. And the way this black bear just sort of barrels through their existence, strutting down a steep hill as though freedom is all in the now. But then when Bell Hooks gets to these last two lines, it opens this huge amount of questions for me when she says, no past, no present. As though freedom is all in the now, no past, no present. And I question, is she saying that there is no past and there is no present, or is she saying that there is no present without a past? If we don't have a past, we can't have a present. And that's where I tend to fall in this morning's poem. What's that? Yeah. The way that we carry our practice of reassociating with our body, the practice of falling in love, falling into love, into our bodies, through breath and through meditation and through understanding and forgiveness, which ultimately means we're stepping into compassion, which is the teachings of so many teachers, so many Buddhas, so many Christs, so many Krishnas, so many Muhammads, so many unnamed teachers that didn't get books penned about them, bring us this repeated story about compassion. And compassion, one thing about compassion that I understand, and I may be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that compassion requires a past. That to be able to have compassion, we have to have that history, that past. And without that past, we can't be present. And I don't know that we can untether entirely from who we have become. I think that we can lose our attachment to what it is we've been without losing our connection to how we are becoming. And it's like that brooding sense in the back of the mind. That's the black bear. The black bear's youthful energy and its unwillingness to remain contained and confined. And if anyone knows what it's like to live with bears in your neighborhood, you know that there's nothing that's going to keep them out or in. They are a force. And so there's this black bear inside of us that is this dark, quiet, heavy silence that wants to break free. And then I was reading through another set of poems this morning, and it's one that we've been working through here as well. This is from Pastor Drew Jackson in his first book, God Speaks Through Wombs. We were working on Touch the Earth a bit, and we touched into this one. I found this book of poems, Touch the Earth, I found because Padre Kotuma wrote the introduction, and I saw that online. So I found an inexpensive copy and ordered it, fell in love with it. To my surprise, I fell in love because of my past, that black bear in my past, of the church and of Christianity. and how my relationship to those teachings have been healing over the years. And as I heal as a person from a lot of my wounds, or with a lot of my wounds, rather, not from, but with my wounds, I heal when my wounds heal. I'm becoming into this good relationship with the teachings from the Bible, and specifically the teachings of the Christ, but also some of the Psalms and Song of Solomon. There's beauty in these things for me because there's familiarity. Um, it's hard to feel good about your family if you hold on to all of the wounds that you received. But as soon as you start to heal with family, you get brought back in, and then there's goodness and familiarity. There's goodness there. And so this is following the book of Luke. And in the book of Luke, this is a lot of the movement of where we see the Christ coming into the shifts that are occurring. And this particular poem is called A Grand Unfolding, and it's after Luke chapter 6, verse 12 through 16. And I think that you'll see the connections to Bell Hook's Appalachian Elegy number 3 to this. A new chapter begins. Turn this page not because the story is changing, it's just progressing forward. I sit up all night, late like a writer into those hours only God is awake, to choose which names will dot tomorrow's blank pages. It is agony to choose. I hate decisions. I only do what I am told. Listening tells me where I need to go. As the soft orange blaze of dawn begins to break around the corner of my window shade, it is time for me to descend this mountain of struggle. Let the ink fall, letting these characters know which roles they will play in this grand unfolding as old as time. As the soft orange blaze of dawn begins to break around the corner of my window shade, it is time for me to descend this mountain of struggle, to let the ink fall, letting these characters know which roles they will play in this grand unfolding as old as time. So here the poet recalls that similar metaphor of the descending the hill, right? Coming down this hill, and he refers to it as a mountain of struggle. And Bell Hooks talks about escaping the confines of man-made containment. And I think when I think of man-made containment, mostly I think of the way that I create my own suffering with the stories that I have that bind me to this painful history that's really not necessary, this mountain of struggle I've created in my mind. You know, the we make mountains of molehills thing. And then it's the synchronicities start to fall into place because Luke chapter 6, and specifically these verses 12 through 16, is about, and I don't have this memorized from childhood. I looked this up after I read the poem. But it's the moment when the Christ figure comes out of prayer, of a listening session up on the mountains, and he comes down to choose his disciples. So he names the disciples, and he even changes some of their names. He names Peter, who was once Simon. Changing these names, he calls them by their names. And it gets to the end and it names two Judases. There's Judas, the son of James, and then there's Judas Iscariot. And in the verse, it says, and Judas Iscariot, who will become the traitor. He's the only one that gets named with a task. The rest of them are just disciples. I believe one of them is named the Zealot. But that's not really a task. But Judas Iscariot, and if anybody's familiar with the Christian lore, Judas Iscariot is the disciple who turns in the Christ to the Romans, who's responsible for the crucifixion. Judas is one of the most important characters in this lore because without the Judas performing the task of becoming the traitor, as much as he loved his teacher, then we wouldn't have the story of the Christ. The story of Christ doesn't exist without the crucifixion. Let's just be real about that. The reason Christians wear crosses around their necks is because that is the most important symbol in their cosmology. So Christ wouldn't exist without Judas. My friend Pecos has some lines of poetry. He says, every Jesus needs a Judas, every Caesar needs a Brutus. And it's this reminder when Christ is choosing the apostles and he's naming them, even the one who is the most difficult thing you could imagine deserves the name, and it deserves a place. And there's this knowledge like the black bear coming down this hill into freedom, losing the past, losing the future, losing the present, all those things. There's this understanding that forward motion, it's going to include all of these things. And we have to name, we have to understand that we do name these roles in our lives, and we can't delete the ones that we don't want. We can't delete those ones. We can't get rid of the messy black bear that messes up the garden. It's absolutely necessary. We can't get rid of the traitor. We can't get rid of the jerk who cuts you off in traffic. You can't get rid of the family member that won't return your calls. You can't get rid of these things just because you think that the only purpose they serve is your suffering, but you forget that your suffering serves a purpose. And there's a big difference there in silver lining everything. There's this urge that I have in my whole body to resist the everything happens for a reason talk when someone is grieving or whatever. But looking forward, coming out of our prayer, figuring out our day, we have to resist the urge to delete the things that are going to challenge us. Because those challenges are the ways that we learn how to love. The other ones are easy. So the last part of the synchronicities of this morning sit is the music. Again, we were listening to the music of Mark Deutsch, uh, recently died, um, master of the bass, the double bass, contrabass, and also creator and master of the Bazantar, sort of a contrabass sitar amalgamation. But the piece that we were listening to is called Burgozada. And Burgozada means the chosen, spiritually chosen one who's chosen specifically for a spiritual task. And when we talk about Luke chapter 6, 12 through 16, and Christ is naming the apostles, and then you talk about the way Drew Jackson interprets that into listening in his prayer to how we're going to name those people, those roles, not even those people, just those roles in our lives, like who's going to be this today. Choosing these things for a spiritual practice. And then it comes all the way back to that heavy silence outside the window, listening deeply, listening for that sound so that you can understand what its name will be. Like all of that just kind of flows for me. There's a lot of connections there. And also, before we open up, I just want to send a prayer out for Angela. She's taking a big journey right now. She'll be gone for a while, and she'll be doing a lot of heavy journeying in her own ways. And just want to send that prayer of love out to her. Keep her safe and know that she is supported. Okay, I'd love to hear if there's any feedback in the room. I don't have the capacity still to read the chat if there's anything in the chat or see what's happening, but I'm working on that. Is there anything the Sangha has? Reflections from today?
Kundalini synchronicities. Luke chapter 12, 16. It's my birthday.
December 16th is your birthday?
I heard you talking about the past and the present and the future, and I like to think of my timeline as a discordant cord stretched with the different frequencies of what's happened to me in life, and it plays my frequency into the symphony of the universe, and I'm heard.
Nice. Which goes into the synchronicity of the Bazantar, which uses all the sympathetic strings that catch the vibrations and move together in harmony. I like that image, being the string, and this, the instrument of the universe. Yeah, and there are chords that have, we have to remember some of the most rich chords that we hear have dissonant notes, notes that seem like they don't resonate, but that creates the tension in the harmony. But when you're in the right place because you really start to move. When you catch the right frequency, it's there. Is there any other questions or comments or anything from the morning's practice?
Yeah, I don't know. Feel like. Yes, I'm thinking a lot about this. I've just started. I think it's a book by Alan Watts. It's an audiobook, and it's called Become Who You Are. And I don't know. I'm only done a few chapters, but I'm just like, I don't know if I'm often I'm just like could like maybe I'm that discordant string all the time, and it's like trying and trying and trying to not be, and not that I am all the time, but a lot of the time it feels that way. I don't know. There's something he's talking about the Tao, and just there's the like not like striving all the time, and I'm trying to find that like ability to like just to like kind of find the freedom in like admitting defeat, sort of. Yes, I'm not sure if I like am totally understanding, but that's just where my head is at right now. It's just I don't even know. I'm just like trying to not try so hard all the time, I guess.
Yeah, there's an entire industries that are created to get us to keep trying to be better or different than who we are. You know? And they're really effective because each of us has that tendency sometimes, and some of us have that tendency more often than not to not feel exactly like we are in accordance with the harmonies of the other strings. But it's what the sympathetic strings on an instrument like the sitar, the ones that create the bed of sound, they're the ones that never get touched. And they just begin to move with the other strings to create that discordant beauty of the bed of sound. You know, and I think that's what Taoism kind of talks about. Is like kind of, one of the Taoist teachers that I had years and years ago made it make a lot of sense to me when he talked about you spend the first 9 months of your existence when sperm meets the egg and all of a sudden your DNA is activated and you're kind of turned on. First 9 months, almost 10 months, 40 weeks of your life, everything is provided. You don't do anything to get anything. And then you're born and you spend the rest of your life fighting like hell for the scraps. Why? Why do we choose at birth to do this thing? It's like the Tao is remembering that everything is provided as it needs to be. He's like, that doesn't mean you don't get a job, and it doesn't mean you don't wash your dishes. It's like getting a job and washing your dishes may very well be the way. That's the Tao, but it's there for you in any moment. You are exactly what you need to be to get what you need to get, to do what you need to do. And that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, oh shit. Because yeah, I thought that the spiritual path was like some Shaolin kung fu movie where I had to break bamboo over my shins and and sit on mountaintops in freezing cold, suffering for 40 nights to get enlightenment. And it's like you don't get to choose enlightenment. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the Shaolin movies are exactly right. But learning that it's okay, just and actually it may be about just having that knowledge that I'm exactly who I need to be to get exactly what I need to get to do exactly what I need to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of, like I don't know when you're like playing an instrument or something too, and if you're thinking about it all too much, it starts just becoming more off and off and off, and when you're just like allowing your body to like go through it and not overthink it, it comes out a lot.
Find the harmony, and then flow with the harmony.
It's like ice skating. I'm terrible at it. Until I remember to let go and just, oh yeah, I'm not actually doing this. I'm just sort of existing on this ice. But when I think about it, I'm like, oh, God, put my foot there, foot there. Like,
Yeah.
But then you get into a flow and all of a sudden you're gliding. Yeah, it's our over-cultivated mind that really does a lot of the. It's that steep hill, that mountain of struggle, that Drew Jackson and Bell Hooks both talk about coming down from. Yeah. But even even Judas Iscariot, who is the only one named with a task, has its purpose. Like, even all those feelings of discordance has its gift, has its purpose for us. I guess. I guess. Sounds good. Maybe it'll sell a few books. I don't know. I'll have a book, but when I do.
You what?
Okay, thanks everyone for coming this morning. What do you